Welcome to AI Assembled, the top AI news for small business. I'm Chris Doelle, and each week I bring you the most important AI developments that can transform your business. Let's dive into this week's top stories.
Apple has sued OpenAI in federal court in Northern California, accusing the AI lab of stealing trade secrets to build its own consumer hardware. This is a dramatic reversal for two companies that were high-profile partners just 2 years ago, when ChatGPT was baked into the iPhone's operating system. Apple's complaint pulls no punches. It alleges that, at every level, from technical staff up to OpenAI's chief hardware officer, the company has been, quote, stealing Apple's trade secrets and confidential information, end quote. That chief hardware officer, Tang Tan, is a former Apple vice president, and he is now personally named as a defendant. Apple says Tan directed job candidates still working at Apple to bring, quote, actual parts, end quote, from Apple to their interviews for what he called show-and-tell sessions, so his team at OpenAI could pull out more confidential information. Apple also alleges OpenAI coached departing Apple employees on how to evade Apple's security processes on their way out the door, and that one former employee, Chang Liu, walked off with an Apple laptop. Liu is also named as a defendant. And Apple claims OpenAI has been asking outside hardware firms to use a metal finishing technique Apple invented, while misleading those partners into believing they had Apple's permission. The backdrop here is OpenAI's hardware push. Last year, OpenAI paid $6.4 billion for former Apple designer Johnny Ive's device startup, and CEO Sam Altman has said the first prototypes are finished. Apple is asking the court for damages, injunctions, and an order forcing OpenAI to stop using its trade secrets. Why it matters for small businesses. If you built any part of your workflow on the assumption that Apple and OpenAI would keep playing nicely together, that assumption is now shaky. The updated Siri coming this fall is already switching to Google's Gemini models instead of OpenAI. Expect messier integrations between Apple devices and ChatGPT going forward, and expect OpenAI's promised hardware to arrive under a legal cloud that could delay ship dates. If you are an SMB running on Apple Intelligence plus ChatGPT, do not bet your Q4 roadmap on that pairing staying frictionless. Now moving on. Microsoft has just made it a lot cheaper to skill up your team on the single hottest topic in enterprise AI right now, which is AI agents. Those are AI systems that take actions on your behalf, not just answer questions. Microsoft has released a completely free 10-lesson course called AI Agents for Beginners on Microsoft Learn, and an expanded companion repository on GitHub with 21 lessons that goes even deeper. The course walks you from concept to code. It covers what an agent actually is, the design patterns behind them, tool use, planning, multi-agent systems, memory, and how to actually ship one to production. There is a hands-on interactive version on LinkedIn Learning too, running about 50 minutes if you just want the fast pass. And crucially, it uses accessible, real-world tooling, not just Microsoft's own stack. Why this is a big deal for SMB owners. Enterprise firms are spending tens of thousands of dollars per seat sending engineers to agent boot camps. This course covers the same foundational material from a company that runs the underlying infrastructure at a price point of $0. For a small business, that means your existing developer, or even a technically curious operations lead, can learn enough in a weekend to prototype an agent that handles quoting, appointment reminders, invoice follow-ups, or customer support triage. You do not need to hire a specialist. You do not need to buy an enterprise agent platform. You need one motivated person, 10 free lessons, and about a week. If AI agents have been on your maybe someday list, this is the week to move them onto the this quarter list.
Meta has yanked a brand new Instagram AI feature off the platform just days after launching it, after a wave of public backlash. On July 7th, Meta rolled out something called Muse Image. It was built into Meta AI, Instagram Stories, and WhatsApp, and it let users generate and edit AI images, including by feeding it public Instagram photos and sketching changes on top of them. By July 10th, 3 days later, it was gone. Meta admitted, in its own words, that it had, quote, missed the mark, end quote, and said the feature was no longer available. The core problem was privacy. The tool made it very easy to grab images from public Instagram accounts, run them through generative AI, and produce modified versions of real people, potentially without their knowledge. Regulators, creators, and everyday users pushed back fast, and Meta blinked. Why this matters for SMBs? 2 lessons here. First, if your small business runs any part of its marketing through Instagram or Meta AI tools, understand that the feature set is unstable right now. Something you build a campaign around this week can quietly disappear next week. Do not become dependent on any single generative AI feature inside a social platform. Second, the backlash tells you where the line is with your own customers. If you are experimenting with AI-generated images of clients, employees, or user-submitted photos, get explicit consent and think hard about how it would look if a screenshot ended up in a local news story. The technology is running faster than the trust, and Meta just paid the reputational bill for finding that out in public. Now, to the story a lot of executives are quietly panicking about this week. Enterprises are getting hit with AI bills that are far, far bigger than they expected, and in many cases, those bills are now higher than the salaries of the workers those companies laid off to pay for AI in the first place. A new KPMG survey of over 2,000 senior executives across 20 countries found that 29% of them, nearly 1 in 3, have no idea where their growing AI costs are actually coming from. Another third admitted their own confusion about AI economics is the main thing blocking them from deploying AI effectively. In plain English, the people signing the checks do not understand what they are paying for. The examples are eye-watering. Uber's chief technology officer disclosed that Uber burned through its entire 2026 AI coding budget in 4 months, by March. 84% of Uber engineers had adopted the AI coding tool, and roughly 70% of committed code now comes from AI. Uber's own president admitted, publicly, that all that token usage did not clearly correlate with more useful features shipped to customers. Microsoft, which has invested about $13 billion in OpenAI, told engineers in one of its major divisions to stop using an AI coding assistant because the bill got out of control. One unnamed company, per reporting from Axios, racked up a $500 million Claude bill in a single month after management forgot to set a usage cap. NVIDIA's own VP of Applied Deep Learning has said on the record that the cost of compute for his team now exceeds what NVIDIA pays the humans using it. Meanwhile, more than 115,000 tech workers have been laid off in 2026 alone, across more than 150 companies, with the stated reason being reallocation toward AI. Meta cut 8,000 roles, Wix cut 1/5 of its workforce, Block halved headcount, Atlassian shed 1,600 jobs. And here is the punchline. An MIT study found AI automation is economically viable in only about 23% of roles. For the other 77%, humans are still cheaper. Companies fired the humans, then found out the machines cost more.
So what does the enterprise AI bill shock mean for you? running a small or mid-sized business. Honestly, this is one of the rare weeks where being small is a genuine advantage. Big companies are stuck. They've locked in enterprise contracts, laid off staff, and now they're on the hook for usage-based AI pricing that is climbing every quarter. Analysts project that when AI pricing fully normalizes to reflect real infrastructure costs, enterprise AI bills will rise another 30 to 50% above where they are today. Anthropic already moved enterprise customers from flat-rate plans to usage-based billing, tied to actual compute in April. GitHub Copilot followed weeks later. The era of flat-rate, all-you-can-eat AI is ending. You, as a small business, still have time to be smart. 3 things to do this week. Number 1. Before you sign any AI tool contract, ask specifically whether the pricing is flat rate or usage-based, and ask for a hard monthly cap. That $500 million Claude bill happened because someone forgot to set a cap. Do not be that someone. Number 2. Do not use frontier models for tasks that do not need them. Roughly 95% of enterprise AI usage still runs on the most expensive frontier models, even for work that does not require that horsepower. If you are using a top-tier model to reformat spreadsheets or answer basic FAQ emails, you are lighting money on fire. Match the model to the job. Number 3. Before you replace a person with AI, do the actual math on total cost of ownership over 12 months, including tokens, integration, monitoring, error correction, and the human hours to supervise it. In roughly 3/4 of roles, the human is still the cheaper option. Zooming out on the whole week, Apple versus OpenAI tells you the AI platform wars are entering a new, more legal phase, and your integrations may get bumpy. Microsoft's free agent course tells you the skills gap is closing fast, and it is closing in your favor if you move now. Meta's Muse Image Retreat tells you generative AI features inside social platforms are volatile, and consumer trust is fragile. And the enterprise cost story tells you the biggest companies in the world do not actually understand their own AI spending, which means the playbook is still wide open. For a nimble SMB that picks the right models, sets the right caps, trains one person on agents, and does not lay off staff to chase a bill it cannot forecast, this is genuinely a moment of advantage. The advantage will not last forever, but it is here, right now, this week. Use it.
That's it for this week's AI Assembled, the top AI news for small business. If you found this valuable, share it with a fellow business owner. And if you want to know whether AI tools can find and recommend your business, get your free AI website optimization report at freshmediaworks.com/AI ready. Until next week, keep innovating and keep it real.